and we're able to view it clearly through the screen sharing. Please view it through the screen sharing. Those able to view it clearly through the screen sharing, please open the PDF or the PowerPoint that has been sent. So, Tashdele, and welcome to today's Tibetan Grammar class. And today we're discuss the usage case of the ablative particles. Okay, so today we're going to discuss usage cases. There are three usage cases as we have discussed last class: the ablative case, the separating inclusive case. So we have to just a different day because separating case has few sub-usage cases, each of which have different rules to be used, and therefore we're going to discuss in case in a different class. So today we're going to discuss two usage cases, the ablative and the inclusive case. Though the inclusive case has particular usage cases, sub-usage cases, it will not be very different. It will not be very different from the one which will be all discussed. So all the four are quite similar. So all the four of these usage cases are quite similar, because of which the inclusive case will be discussed today, and the separating case will be discussed in the next class. Okay, so before we begin, let me read this verse of dedication. So the verse of dedication to Manjushri. So first, the line of dedication. The translation will be provided after the class. I to the Lord and Guru, Manjushri. Ngoni time neki gombo retiti meper drove music mingunse rab jambe ala chatelo to sum deshi sherab ngoni time neki gombo retiti meper drove se sherab jambe ala chatelo. So this particular verse is a verse of taking a verse of dedication to Manjushri. So, to Sumteshi Sherab Ngoni, the one which is the embodiment of the wisdom of the Tathagatas of 3 times. Timene ki Komborititi, the Lord of the Mala, holding the ablaze sword of wisdom. Retimeber sword cuts through all the ignorance and ignorance of self-grasping attitude. Shirab Jambe ala Chatalo, I bow to you, I prostrate to you, O Manjushri, the Lord of Wisdom. So this is the verse of dedication for today's class. And so with this verse of dedication as a symbolism of auspiciousness, let us begin our class. So the first, before we continue the use, we must understand that the ablative case is the 5th grammatical case. So till now we have studied the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, the 7th, the 3rd, the 6th, and now the 5th. So with this we will have studied 7 out of 8 grammatical cases. So this is the 5th grammatical case. Namiyangapa chunghuni kangshi kangle chungwam tempe namiyala kokyo. So fifth grammatical case is a grammatical case in which an object is stated to be originated. So this particular meaning needs to be emphasized. So let me just write it here. It is originated, or it is separated from another object. So when we say separated, it means something that is coming off something. So something that is coming off something. So something that's coming off another object, or something that was a part of something, and then now it became a different object by itself. So either originating, or it's detaching from something, or separating from something. Originated or separated from another object is known as fifth grammatical case. So we have already discussed this in our previous classes. We have stated that grammatical cases are nothing but usage cases, or in more clear explanation, these are statements which are which belongs to a particular type of usage case. And so by belonging to a particular type of usage case, these particular statements can function in showing or depicting certain meaning. And we started with the first grammatical case. It was a narration in a form of word or name, an individual name. Then the second grammatical case was showing that an action was done at a particular position. Then the third grammatical case showed that an action was done by a subject. The fourth grammatical case told us that an action was done in order to either harm or benefit something. And then the sixth grammatical case depicted a relation between any two phenomena. And the seventh grammatical case depicted that an object was situated at a particular position. And so the fifth grammatical case is a usage case, or a statement in which we depict that something has either originated or detached or separated from something else. So one is the origin or the main from which something originated or got detached or separated. And this type of statement are known, these type of statements are known as the statement of fifth grammatical case. Okay, so namanya nga pa? Fifth grammatical case. Okay, so chungkung tempe jobani chungkung kangshi tang tedane chungbe ngobo par chungde kin tewa temper site ne tang le kangrung pe joba cheper kogyoso. Meaning, the ablative statement is any statement in which the ablative particles, we have two ablative particles, ne and le. This is something that we have already discussed in our previous class, where we said that the ablative case is a dependent particle, but not in the way that we have discussed prior to the fifth grammatical case. These particles do not function or do not follow the same rule of being dependent on the rule, whereas the particles such as the differentiating and inclusive particle, ornamental and inclusive particle, these particles followed their name that it is associated with on the basis of suffix letter. But these two particles, they follow a name on the basis of usage case. So that is different from this is contrasting from what we have studied about the other particles. So the ablative particles ne and le are used in order to show the relation of origin and product. So it's either so origin and the product. So it shows the relation between two phenomena or two objects in which one becomes the origin, the other becomes the originated or the product. And so this relation is shown by the ablative particles ne and le. And it was already discussed that these two can be used independent of any name in the usage case of ablative statement. So you can either use ne or you can use le. Wherever ne is being used for ablative case, you can use le. So there is no restriction per se the suffix letter, but there is restriction in the context of the usage case. So if it's an ablative case statement, then you can use both ne and le. And the function of this particular type of statement is show the relation of origin and product between the object that is the origin and the object that is the originated object. So this type of usage case is known as ablative statement. Perna Perchu le homa Changchu sempane sange le cheso. So please notice that the particles are highlighted in green. It doesn't matter which color it was. So you can there is no significance on why the green, but it is highlighted in green. So normally when we write it on the board, what we do is that we have a particular symbol that we write under the particle to signify that this particular word is the particle. But here we can only use the color to highlight. We're unable to use that symbol to highlight something being the particle. So here the first sentence is Perchu le homa. Perchu means cow, homa means milk. So milk from the cow. So here it's a origin and product relation. Therefore, le is translated as from. It must be understood that le is a particle, and therefore it could transition to a different meaning while being translated, depending on the context of the particular sentence, or sorry, particular statement. Then the second one is Changchu Sempane Sange, Buddha from Bodhisattva. And then finally, Sange le Chu, Dharma from Buddha. So in all these cases, all these statements, it's apparent, and we're on that the two objects function as origin and the originated. And we have already discussed that here, Pachu le homa, we can also say Pachu ne homa. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just Pachu le, because in the usage case in this particular usage case, we have already either is there's no rule that states that one should be either one should be used for particular. It's not on the word. The dependence is on the context and the nature of the statement. So if the context and the nature of the statement is if it's the ablative statement, then one has the freedom to either use ne or which comes under the ablative statement. So whichever statement that in which you're using le, you can also use ne. And so Pachu le, Pachu ne homa. This Chungchu Sempa ne sange. In this particular statement, we can also use le, Chungchu Sempa le sange. So one should understand that in the context of when it comes to the ablative statement, the usage is independent of the suffix of the associated name, meaning that either particle, any word, any name, irrespective of the suffix letter or the existence of suffix letter. So this is an example of the ablative case statement. There are three necessary components of ablative case: the object of origin, meaning the object which functions as the origin, the ablative particles, and the originated object, the object that is originated from that object of origin. So these three are the necessary. What do we mean by necessary component? Meaning that these three are the things that must be there in a statement if a statement is classified as a statement of ablative case. Meaning that if a statement is of the ablative case, then these three components. If even one of this is not and when we say present, it should be present as in written. Sometimes could be substituted by pronoun, but anyway, as written either in the very noun or as the pronoun. So, statement of ablative case. So the object of origin, the particle, ablative particle, the originated object, and then the statement. Ama, first one, we have ama, which means mother. Le, the particle, and ablative particle. Pu means child. Ama lepu means child from mother. Di, which is the female yak. Ne, ablative particle. Homa, milk. Dine homa. Sim, ablative particle. Tsoa, feeling. Simne tsoa. Feeling from the mind. So we see each of these statements, we see that all the three components are present. These statements can be understood as or can be classified as ablative case statement or statement of ablative case. So now this is the ablative. Now we're going to the inclusive case. So today we have cases. The thing is that the inclusive case, there are 4 subgroups under the inclusive case, but all of them are the only difference is the context of inclusiveness. What do you include? What is being included is the difference between all of these 4. Other than that, the structure of the statement, the way it functions is the same. So, Drubpay jobani. Samni parking ngopo ham chashe yongzo Drubpay tsikte ne pechuki par kopyeso. Meaning that statement of inclusive case is any statement in which objects or components between components, because we already discussed that sometimes things could be just individual object, or sometimes it could be component of a main thing. So in which objects or components between any 2 limits. So limit here has a meaning. So let me just bold this. to be understood as two phenomena will be stated, and everything between those two phenomena will be included. So limits require limits. When we say limits, it refers the two phenomena which needs to be stated. So, for example, here to there. So when we say here to there, if we say here to there, if we say how many there from here to there. So the flowers that's between the position that is here and there is included, and the case the limit is here and there. So therefore, limits should be understood in this way, are included by the usage of the inclusive particle ne. We see that in this particular usage case, we are not allowed to use le. We should only use. So therefore, in the inclusive case, we are only using and no other particle. We have two particles, we're not using the other particle. And this has to do with the rules of fission, because it's a dependent particle. It cannot follow any usage case now. It should follow the usage case according to the rule. The rule states last class we discussed that for the separating case, separate distinguished section, we use le. Separating in the same section, we use ne. Ablative case, we can use either, but for the inclusive case, we only use ne. So therefore, according to that rule, we come to this understanding that only using the ne, and ne here will be understood as inclusive particle. Why is it inclusive particle? Because it's been used in inclusive case. So statement of inclusive case is any statement in which objects or components between any two limits, meaning two phenomena that the statement, are included by the usage of the inclusive particle ne. So we're going to use the particle ne. Perna. For example, everyone in between me and him are class 10 students. Everyone, including me and him, everyone in between are class students. So here we see that if, for example, there are 30 students in between us, I don't have to singularly say that this person is, and this person is class 10 student, this person is class 10 student. By the usage of inclusive case, I have established a in which everything in between I or me and him is included to be of class 10 students. So this is an example. So everyone in between me and him are class 10 students. There are four types of inclusive case. First one is inclusive case of objects, where the context of inclusiveness only refers to objects. Second, inclusive case of time, where the context of inclusiveness is time period. Third is inclusive case of place, where the context of is the places and area in between the two limits. And finally, inclusive case, not cast, this is case, inclusive case. Inclusive case of numbers, in which the context of inclusiveness is numbers. So there's include all the number between the two limits. So these are the four different usage case, sub-usage cases under inclusive case. Depending, like I said, the structure will be similar. The only difference is what type of, in which context are you in things. Is it inclusiveness of number? Is it inclusiveness of place? Is it inclusiveness of time? Or is it inclusiveness of objects? And so these are very, very similar, and quite easy to understand. Statement of inclusive of object is any statement in which all the objects in between the two stated objects, which acts as the limit, as a component or position, are included by the use of inclusive particle ne. So it could be a component, or it could be in between two positions. Meaning that, like I said, so as we're positioned, anything in between me and him as a position, individual object that is in between that position are included. Or sometimes it could be a component of a. So in this particular statement, we see that from head to toe. And note that just the word toe, because as we translate it in English, it's better. It's much better when we are translating as head to toe, to understand the meaning that from the crown to the toe, meaning from head to the toe, rather than saying from feet, because or from head to this doesn't make much sense. So this is something that has been done in order to retain the integrity of the translated language, so that we don't mess too much with the translated language and it makes no sense. So to toe, in which we see that both head and toe are component of a person. So anything that comes in between. So we have face, we have the abdomen part, everything, and the head. So from head to toe. So this type of usage case is known as the inclusive of object. And then similarly, we said in this particular example, in between me and him. So unlike the ablative case, now we see that the translation of this particular particle comes to in between. In between. So there is no fixed translation of a particle. It changes depending on usage case. In some usage case, it be understood as from. In some usage case, it will be understood as in between. For example, for the ablative case, it was from. Now in the inclusive, also in inclusive, you'll see that there is difference. For the inclusive of object, in some inclusive case, for of object, we see that this particular particle translates as in between. And so this is the this type of statement should be understood as, this type of statement should be understood as the statement of inclusiveness, inclusive statement, inclusive case, and in inclusive case, this is inclusive of object. From head to toe, we have things like eyes, nose, mouth, teeth, and other body parts, and everything in between this two is object, because the two things that we stated were objects, so everything in between is also object. So therefore, inclusive object, the context of inclusiveness is of object here. Okay, now the second type, statement of inclusive of time is any statement in which all the amount of time in between the time period stated are inclusive by the usage of the inclusive particle ne. Now, it's the same. The structure is the same, but the difference is that for the inclusive of object, the context of in this case, the context of inclusiveness comes to be time. So we're including any amount of time that is between these two time period that acts as a limit. So any time, amount of time between these two time stated as a limit should be understood as the inclusiveness of time. For example, taring ne lo je par, from today until next year. So we see that from today until next year. So today is what is today? Is 20th of March. So it's still in March. So we have April till December. So we have more, almost 8 months and 10 days. So the duration of 8 months, and then it's going to be the end of, so almost 9 months, and so almost 9 months. So 9 months and 10 days. So the duration of 9 months and 10 days, that time period, the amount of time from today until next year is included in this. So for example, we say that I'm going to let me just write a statement here. Okay, so meaning from today until next year, every month I'm going to buy one. So you can either buy a book to read or either you're writing. This is not clear here. It could be for reading or it could be for writing or draw or sketching, anything. But from today till next year, that is the duration of 9 months, each month I'm going to buy a new book. So we see that the duration of 9 months in between this two time period is included in here. So inclusiveness of time. And then the inclusiveness could be shorter duration of time. For example, short one or Shopa. Just highlight this. Okay, Shopa Chaozu. Chaozu is the honorific for Chutu, which means time. Shopa Chaozu Gubane, Chiru Chaozu, Shiba Parlopta Tsokiyu. From 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the evening, the school is in session, or the school is in session. So the school is in session from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the evening. So we see that the duration of time, that is almost 7 hours, I think. So almost 7 hours in between is included, or should be included, or is included between these two limits, and the inclusiveness is shown from ne. So this is inclusiveness of time. So like I said, there's only a difference of the context. And because of context, because it's the now it becomes until, which is a preposition of time. So therefore, whereas between is understood as more as in the context. Before, it was to be understood more as preposition of place, but this becomes more like preposition of time. So here we're using from until, and this particular particle ne is now translated as from until. So we see that there is difference in the translation because of the very nature of the statement. In the first type of the inclusiveness, it was the inclusiveness of objects. So therefore, it was translated differently. And now it's translated as from until because it is understood in context of inclusiveness of time. Now, 유두베주바니. So this is 유두베주바니 참여하기 서시험 율 지점 여벌 식체 내 배주기 두발로 고그. Statement of inclusiveness of place in any statement in which all the area or places in between the stated places are included by the usage of inclusive particle ne. So now the context of inclusiveness is either the area in between or the places that comes in between. So the two limits. So any places could be if we talk about something as something to be as a small scale, we can talk about villages. There could be many villages between two cities. There could be many cities between any two states. There could be many countries between any two, and there could be many countries between any two countries. So therefore the context, and then we can also talk about the area and distance also. So here we're talking about area or distance, or simply places. So the statement in which the inclusiveness is of the place or area or distance should be understood as inclusiveness of place. For example, for example, from Tibet to India. So all the other countries that comes between India and Tibet will be included in here. So every place that is in between India and Tibet will be included in here, be it mountains. So it depends on the context. If I'm talking about the mountains, then all the mountain ranges, then all the mountain ranges between India and Tibet will be included. If I'm talking about the river, all the rivers. If I'm talking about the lakes, if I'm talking about the forest, if I'm talking about the towns and villages. So depending on the context that follows from here. But all the place, or sometimes it could be also distance. Like I said, it depends on the context. If we're particularly going to talk about distance, it will be distance. If we're going to talk about places, it will be places. If we're going to talk about area, it's going to be area. So if the places is in this context, if the places is country, it is country. If it's town, it's town. If it's village, it's village. If it's mountain, it's mountain. If it's mountain ranges, it's mountain ranges. So forth, so on and so forth. So therefore, we understand that this particular statement could be understood in this way. So from Tibet to India, here we see that the preposition of places from and to is translated as from and to for this particular case. Now the final type of inclusive yes, par is something that it's a word that functions to tell us that more or less it tells us in between. So it gives us an understanding of in between. So with ne, when we talk about these inclusiveness, we will find that it will always be accompanied by par. And so ne, even though it may be translated as from, but for different contexts, the usage of ne with par will be changing. So for the first one, it was in between, ne was in between. So it was from head to toe, in which two is somewhat could be understood as par. But the thing is that par is more like, it should be understood as a word that has influence over ne. So some of the words have that kind of ability where they're capable of influencing a word, even though they're not directly translated. We cannot say that par means two, because that is not the correct translation here. But we can say that par had an influence over ne in a way that ne now means from to. Similarly, in this case, par has a particular influence over ne that it now becomes from until or from till. Then in this case, it becomes from to. So it's more like having influence over ne. But if we say that par is directly translated as to, then it is not going to stay very well with, which normally means between. And then also,
thank you so much, Shanna. So in conclusion, I just have a quick, sorry to cut off in between, is that they are used in the ne and the bar. The ne and the bar is used interchangeably because of the influence of each other. Is that correct to speak?
interchangeable in which manner?
That means when there is a ne, the bar will exist, but at the same time, the bar will also have an influence over how the ne is being used.
Yes. This is correct. Upon that, one must also understand that par can be used without the usage of ne.
Oh, okay.
In case it will be par, meaning between our house. So here we see that we are using par, but so if there is a usage of ne as inclusive, then there will be usage of par. If it's par, it is not guaranteed that we will use ne. So, and now the final type of inclusiveness, which is the inclusiveness of number. Statement of inclusive of number in numbers, a number, all the numbers in between two stated numbers are included by the usage of inclusive particle ne. Now we see that the has to do with ne, has to do with numbers. From 1 to 100. We see that, and also in this case, we see that par is following ne to give us an understanding of inclusiveness. The inclusiveness is done particularly by this particle. This is something that comes as a companion to ne. So any amount of number could be written here. This is the final type of inclusiveness. So we have studied today we have studied two types of usage case, the ablative, the statement shows that something is originated or separated or detached from something. Components, the origin, object of origin, the ablative particles, and the originated object. So these so these three are compulsory in any statement that should be understood ablative statement. And so for inclusive, there we must understand any statement in which anything that is it may be object or components or number or time is included by the usage of the inclusive between any two limits is known as Drubpay or inclusive case. There are four types of inclusive case: inclusiveness of object, inclusive of time, inclusiveness of place, and inclusiveness of number. Inclusiveness of object means any object with positioned or is in between two objects is included by the usage of inclusive particle ne or to toe. Every component that's between head to toe is included here. The second is inclusiveness of which the statement of inclusiveness of time is a statement in which all the amount of time that's between any two stated time period, for example, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening. All the time, amount of time that's between these two time period should be included or is included in this. So inclusive time. From today to next year. Now, inclusiveness of places, any place or area or distance between any two places stated is included by the usage of inclusive particle. From Tibet to India, so it could be either place such as town, village, cities, it could be countries, it could be mountain, depending on the context of the statement. Or it could be the distance if the context talks about the distance. Inclusiveness of number means any number between the two stated number. From so any number that's included between the two limits of the number should be understood as the inclusiveness of number. Okay, so this is today's lesson. So if anyone has a question, please ask away before I recite the words of dedication. So I think there's one. That's so. That is questions. Can we say that that these two particles nearly are interchangeable in terms of you can either use ne or le? How usually are these two particles are translated in English nearly in the case of like from? Yes, it is always translated as from when it is the ablative case, because it's the and the originated object. In case of how between and how else? Okay. As we said, if it has to do like a position, something that is positioned in between. It will be understood as in between. For example, we'll go here. So here we understand that this will be translated as there's no one between us. Now, if we use the same with ne, we'll understand it as so in between. So ngane kwe par mingaleme. So in between him and I, there are only five people in between him and context of saying something between two people, between two objects, position between two objects or two people, then we use in between. Otherwise, like for example, if it's not individual object, a component, then we use from and to. And then for the time, we use from until. For the place, we use from to, and for number, we use from to. That's so. Yes, we're going to talk about this in separating case. As usage of comparison in comparative form. Yes, we're going to talk about this in separating case. So I will clarify it in that class. That's all. So any more questions? Do we have any more questions? And that's all. And all the questions here for inclusive particle, is it necessary for ne to be followed by some limitation word, example par? No, only par. It will always be followed by nothing else. Sometimes it could be so it's a word that is similar to par. We can use the word some, the word that I have used here, some. This is also you can also use this one. So some is similar to par. But yes, these are the two words we used, either par or some. And then if you want to write something to be more casual, then you can also use the word kila. In between me and him. So kila is could be understood in that manner. So in between. Tang ke kila. So par, and you can use par, you can use some, or you can use kila. So these are some words that you can actually use. It's because it's not like substituting, it's just that it's the same word, but same word can be used in different manners. So when we say ki, it has more of an understanding of in between or at the center, more understanding of center rather than in between, but still it can be used. So if you want to write something quite what is very casual, then you can write kil. So let me write it here. Par, some, kil. So these three can be used, and if you want to write something that's more casual, That's all. Okay, so if you have any more questions, please send it group. I will answer it in the group. The questions which were sent here in during the class, please send them again and answer them. The one about the comparison, I will answer it in the next class of the separating case. So there's no need to send that question, but send it in the group, and I will answer them in more detail in the group. Okay, now I will be reciting the verse of dedication. So usually we have the reading. Today we will postpone today's reading to next class. Okay, so Gewa dida sa dasonam shirab jambe Yangchen Drubpay shirab hesir chukun Drubpay shirab chimene la kyopasho. By the merits accumulated by us here, may all of us be able to attain the state of Manjushri. May all of us be may the light of the wisdom shine upon all of us, and may all of us be delivered to the pure of Vimala of Manjushri. So with this, we have completed today's class. So thank you very much for joining in, and hope that this was beneficial for every one of you. Those who are joining me for the reading class, I will see you tomorrow. We have a reading, we postponed class to tomorrow. Those who are joining me for the grammar, I will see you day after tomorrow. If something changes, I will inform you according. And I hope everyone, and then the announcement about the extension of the reading class will be made tomorrow. And so I hope every one of you have wonderful morning, noon, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. And I'll see every one of you for the next class.